Ethereum to $5,000 is something that I can definitely see happening relatively soon, and I want to give you the path that I think Ethereum could be taking to get there, because I honestly think that we could be looking at this happening relatively soon. Bitcoin is not doing too bad. We've gotten another confirmed hit off this support level. I'll talk about that a little bit later in this video, but this isn't looking terrible. I don't like the fact that we're staying down too long, but again, it's okay. We're actually just now encountering support from the 4-hour Ichimoku cloud. We've already, kind of touched it a couple of times, but the situation for Ethereum is even better in my opinion. I want to draw something for you, which, when I first saw this from my staff member, I actually laughed because I thought that this was so funny how well this trend line has been respected. Ethereum has been following this resistance line for so long, and this support line. Take a look at this. Now this is a really, really long term, kind of 45-degree staircase to heaven pattern that Ethereum has been in for a very long time now, actually since the beginning of October, which means that we've been trending in this pattern now for about 45 days, which is very, very impressive, where Ethereum is constantly finding resistance along this diagonal trend line of resistance and support along this diagonal support line, which I find very funny because usually a cryptocurrency or anything isn't really going to be trading in such a tight range like this, right? The whole range generally stretches only up by about 15%, which to be fair is quite a lot, but the fact that we're not getting extreme fluctuations other than this right here, to me is pretty surprising, right? And what this means right now is that Ethereum is just kind of on the brink of breaking it, right? Previously with this support area right here, Ethereum would test the level and bounce up straight away, right? Again, over here, we would test the level and bounce up straight away. Whereas if we look at what's happened recently, we tested the level and then we came back up, and then we tested it again and we're back up, and then we tested it again and we're not really pumping up very much. And so we are showing some signs of weakness. But then the next thing, which I found even funnier, is if we take a look at the Ichimoku cloud, we have so much support. And this Ichimoku cloud almost perfectly runs in parallel with Ethereum right here, with its price action, which I found really funny. So every time we came down to test the support of this line, we were also coming very close to Ichimoku support, which I think is absolutely great. And then we've also got a series of potentially bullish, kind of falling wedge patterns right here. So take a look at this. Again, this is all the classic staircase step thing that I always talk to you about, where we move up, we form a staircase step moving down a little bit, and then we continue the trend up, and so on and so on. This is just generally how every single market tends to move, and once you spot this, it's the red pill. I mean, you can never unsee it. It makes trading and analysis very straightforward to carry out, and it also means that you have a much easier time at doing what you're doing. And I think that we're in another one of these patterns right now. And the reason that I'm looking at a $5,000 price target for Ethereum is that if we take a look at how we've actually managed to stretch out, look at this. We've got this one flagpole right here, and then we have the continuation pattern happening, potentially ending right around where we are right now. And if you measure the same extension, that takes us up to $5,100. And the reason that I'm doing this is that generally this flagpole size is going to be the same size as every rally that we have. Look at this. It's freaky how accurate this is. Ethereum almost always consistently making the same rallies. Let me just make this even clearer for you all and delete all of the lines on this chart and remove this. And I just want to show you what this one leg looks like if we measure it. And I make this line very thick and I color it in, I don't know which color works well on these candles, but let's just go with red. I think it's the easiest one. We can see very clearly that I'm just measuring this from the bottom over here to the top over here, and it gives us the length of the trend. And again, if I extrapolate this to any of our previous rallies, we're more or less making the same moves to the upside every single time before encountering a correction. So this is almost very freaky, and I'm not saying that Ethereum is going to do this again, right? Because past performance is not any indication of future performance. Past results, not future, not, you know what I mean? It doesn't mean that we're going to do this again. But if we did, right, and we have done this 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 times already. If we do number 7, that is going to push us above $5,000. And the reason that I think this is definitely possible is if you take a look at what's been happening to Bitcoin, which is obviously going to be the king of the market for now. Bitcoin has had a very nice correction. Since we set a brand new all-time high right here, Bitcoin fell down by about 10%, and it's been correcting for about 4 days. And this is after already having corrected for about 17 days or longer. It actually took Bitcoin a further 19 days since breaking the all-time high over here to break the all-time high again. And so Bitcoin has had a series of corrections over these past weeks, and it's in another one right now, telling me that the market should have had the opportunity to reset right now. If we take a look at where the momentum is as well, just on Bitcoin, we can now see that we finally come back down to test that momentum on the daily time frame, not only on the Bitstamp chart, but we've seen it on other charts as well, like Coinbase. So many exchanges reporting similar data right here, where these markets, where Bitcoin, specifically has now come down to test some of its support. Now, granted, like I've said, and I've been saying over these videos, I don't think it's having extremely strong performance coming off these levels, right? I'm not super happy with seeing these bounces. They just don't look like they're strong enough. To me, it looks like these old areas that were already kind of acting as resistance for Bitcoin are continuing to act as resistance, right? And I don't like that. I want to look for reasons to be bullish, but the market is just kind of, it's getting rejections where it shouldn't really be struggling, in my opinion. So I don't like that, and I'm being very upfront with you all about that. But I do think that in the broad scheme, right, I'm really analyzing very small time frames. As soon as I zoom out, this looks really healthy, right? It looks like a little bit of a retracement, finding support, and then potentially getting ready to blast off higher. So it's a great opportunity for the bulls right now. Whether the bulls take it or not is an entirely different discussion, but if they did, I think that would really put Ethereum in a very good spot to start rising up very nicely. Because take a look at this. See, Bitcoin's at $64,000 right now, and to recover back up to this all-time high, we're going to be pushing up by only 7%, right? So we're not rising by too much to hit that all-time high. But if we take a look at Ethereum, to hit its all-time high, it has to rise up by 6%, so a little bit less. But to hit 5,000, it has a little bit more headroom, right? To hit $5,000 from our current price right now, Ethereum has a further 8.6% to rise. So Ethereum actually has a little bit more headroom than Bitcoin does for the resistance that I'm anticipating it to hit. And that, to me, looks really, really exciting. The only other thing that I am concerned about, though, is just this parallel channel that I said that Ethereum was trading in for quite a long time. It's a little bit too perfect, you see. I mean, we're respecting it a little bit too much. And, you know, you can draw this any number of ways. It doesn't really matter too much. I'm going to choose to draw it like this right here, but it really doesn't make a big difference. And the thing is, you know, I mean, we just generally don't see any market staying in such a tight channel like this, you know, and so I'm not super happy about that. It could be that this ends up pumping up to 5,000, but then it ends up breaking. Definitely possible. I think I wouldn't like that to happen. It doesn't really make a lot of sense given what I've been seeing, but just looking at this pattern alone, it is definitely very unusual. Because, you know, the thing you got to keep in mind is that while Bitcoin was struggling for a lot of the past few weeks, you know, just kind of consolidating, Ethereum carried on setting higher lows and higher highs. So it's been really outshining Bitcoin by quite a lot. That's why I told you guys I bought my Ethereum down here, because I was anticipating this to happen. Of course, all of those details went straight into VIP when I was considering it, and then when I pulled the trigger as well. So they always see exactly what I'm trading. And I've now exited my Ethereum position around about over here. So actually probably a little bit lower. Maybe not quite this high, I don't remember, but it was somewhere in this range. So I'm pretty happy with that little swing I played, because I managed to gain a lot of Bitcoin on top of what I was already holding, and obviously that's always my objective. I want to maximize my Bitcoin holdings, and that's why I'm looking at Ethereum again, because I think that it's in a really strong position. And again, the other thing that I'm really seeing here is that it seems to have almost endless support right now, which I find to be very, very impressive. I want to make sure I don't miss anything, but I've pretty much covered the main things right here. It's this endless support right here, which makes this very interesting, but I think that if we do end up dropping it and we fall below kind of 4.3, 4.4 on this chart right here, which is not far away. That's only like a $200 or $300 drop away from happening. That's where things could potentially get a little bit nasty for Ethereum, right? And I just don't know what's going to happen there. Obviously, you know, we have carried on these legs for, 7 legs consecutively now, right? So we definitely can continue this, and this doesn't look any different to the previous legs down that we've seen. So obviously we could just continue this trend of continuing to set higher lows and higher highs. But of course, you know, we are also approaching, you know, potentially quite heavy psychological resistance, right? So that can be a little bit problematic for the market. The other thing that I want to focus your attention on is where the dollar is at. I was warning you guys that the dollar could be ready to continue to rise in one of my previous videos where I covered it, and it has in fact done so. The dollar is really making quite a big rise in with this index right now. It's gaining a lot of strength against other global currencies just at the moment. And if we take a look at this very long-term chart, we can see that it's now broken essentially this area right here, which it established as support throughout the mid-2010s. We're going really far back now. If we take a look at this right here, this area acted as strong support for the dollar index, and then strong resistance, and then support again, and then resistance again, and we are now just potentially getting ready to break it, right? So if the dollar really runs from here, we could be seeing the traditional markets quite literally have a bit of a run for their money. We could see assets like gold start to pull back. We could see the S&P 500 start to pull back and things like that. Obviously, this is very overextended. Obviously, gold has rallied by quite a lot. And I know that this isn't directly relevant to Bitcoin and Ethereum, but the things to keep in mind is that if these traditional markets start performing badly, I would not expect Bitcoin to stay very healthy. And the reason for that is when you have the larger markets starting to struggle, the people with deep pockets who've made money in these larger markets, like gold, or perhaps more realistically, like S&P 500, those people are the people that are moving Bitcoin these days, right? And this is just a fact of the industry. You can either accept it or not, but that doesn't change the reality. It's just that this space in crypto right now is so big, perhaps not so much for Ethereum, although, yeah, definitely quite a fair bit, but definitely for Bitcoin, these markets are now being moved by the bigger players with the very deep pockets, and they're going to be coming from these more, kind of conventional indices and things like that, right? And so if you start seeing these people who've made money in their traditional market start to lose money, they're going to start becoming a little bit scared. It's just generally how it always goes. People get a little bit scared when they lose money, and they don't want to take much risk on. It's a very standard sequence of events that plays out. Is people make a lot of money, and then they get greedy and they want to make more, so they look at diversifying into riskier things like Bitcoin. But as soon as they start losing money on what they consider to be safe, for example, while the dollar is starting to rise, if you hold the currency, you're getting stronger. Then you're not really going to be looking to diversify into indices and stuff as much as before. That's where you can start to see that investor confidence drop a little bit, and obviously I wouldn't expect that to be a good thing for this market, and that's again where we could be looking at establishing a little bit of resistance. So that's me just kind of outlining both directions for you. I want to take a quick look at Lux Algo as well. It's been very reliable for these markets recently. There is a link in the description for you to get it, so go check that out. But Lux Algo gave us a strong bullish signal right here when Ethereum was trading around the mid to high $3,000 range, which was very impressive, and it's still in that right now. Interestingly, it also has not even fired off an exit signal yet. So this indicator can also give you exits and tell you when it's a good idea to start taking profits. It hasn't even done that. So this indicator thinks there's quite a long time left for Ethereum to continue rallying up. On the 4-hour time frame, it started firing off strong bullish signals when Ethereum was way lower at the low to mid $3,000 range, and it only gave us 1 or 2 real warnings to take profit. The first one was right here when Ethereum was in the very low 4,000s, and the second one was in the high 4,000s. So this indicator has done very well at picking an entry point and then picking subsequent exits, and it hasn't at all fired any sell signals just yet. The last sell signal that this indicator fired off was on this big drop right here. Not a very useful one. So these algorithms, they're not 100% foolproof. Obviously, you would have made a little bit of money maybe just for one day, but then you'd immediately potentially be in a loss, and then a bigger loss, and then you'd make a little bit more money, right? So this was not a strong sell signal. This was just a normal sell signal, and that's something to keep in mind. But this indicator, it has a lot of really, really cool features. You should definitely check it out. You can even it can even tell you where some of the support levels are. Take a look at this. If I put on predictive ranges and I wait for this to load, take a look at what happens here. I find this to be really cool. This can tell you where it's starting to get a little bit overstretched, or where it's starting to get overstretched in both directions. You've also got other cool things like auto trend lines, although I find this to be completely useless, but beginners would love this. The reason I don't like it is it's not very accurate. This is not the set of trend lines I would draw, but it's very cool to see that an algorithm can do that. And then take a look at this. We also have, for example, pattern detection. This one is very, very cool, where it's actually drawing for us exactly the same thing that I already drew for you. This time an algorithm is spotting it, so I find that to be extremely impressive. And again, if you want to check it out, there's a link in the description for you to get 20% off on Lux Algo, and it's pretty cheap, and it's not going to break the bank or anything. For what they give you, this is under $100 a month, if I'm not mistaken. This is definitely worth it, you know, if you want some extra you know, kick to your trading and a little bit of support from algorithms, which is something that I'm going to continue to work with for a little bit, and I'm actually going to make a full video about this very soon, so definitely stay tuned for that. For those of you who want to trade where I'm trading, Bybit is the place to be, and when you sign up using my link in the description, you're also going to be getting up to $3,500 completely free of charge. So all you have to do is sign up using my link in the description, and then make your first deposit, and depending on the size of that deposit, you'll get up to $3.5 grand, which is absolutely amazing. I am actually potentially looking at starting to give you guys some rewards for using my link as well. That can be in the content of in the form of free educational content and things like that on how to trade safely and you know, and whatnot, just for those of you who've used my referral link. So that's another great way for you to extract a little bit of value. I'm not going to do that yet, but all of you who've already used my link, you'll have access to it. So if you've already used it, you'll have access to this new free thing that I'm looking to release just for those of you who've used my link. And if you haven't done so already, then you can get yourself in there, and I'll just let you know when that's ready, and you can kind of redeem that. I haven't really fully worked it out yet, but I am looking at doing this. So definitely make sure to not only get some free cash, but also some extra support from myself, if that sounds good to you, to check out that link down below. And then of course, finally, check out these steps on screen to join Flies VIP if you want to be able to watch me trading in real time and gain access to my educational courses where I teach you all about trading from A to Z. To very quickly recap right here, I think Ethereum is in a beautiful little, you know, small falling wedge right now. It's formed this a lot of times. It's got a lot of support right here for the next couple of $100, and then potentially rising up to 5K would make a lot of sense right now, potentially to set that brand new all-time high. And Bitcoin is not in a bad place either. It's not in a terribly bad place, so I think it definitely would make some sense if the whole market started to rise up for just a little bit before potentially getting ready to correct back down. Unfortunately, I'm not seeing anything hugely amazing for the rest of the altcoin market. I will make a video on Shiba perhaps later today. It is looking slightly interesting right here, but just for the rest of the market, I'm not seeing anything particularly amazing. I would love to tell you that I want to buy Cardano and stuff like that, but I mean, it rallied really hard, which is what I was predicting, but then it fell flat as well, and we're pretty much just back down to the same levels that we were at the beginning of this month about a week ago. I definitely think that this coin can run again along with many of the other altcoins, but it's probably going to take a little bit longer because right now it looks like a lot of people just can't figure out what's going on with Bitcoin. And if we take a look at the fear and greed index, we'll actually start to see these levels, well, we won't start to see these levels are largely staying the same, right? I mean, take a look at what am I doing? My bad. Take a look at, where am I? Right here. You know, we're seeing this fear and greed index pretty much, I mean, 71, 72, 73, 74, just showing us that over the past, you know, well, today, yesterday, last week, and last month, we've largely been at the same level. And I think this might actually be one of the reasons that Bitcoin is really struggling, right? Like Bitcoin's fear and greed index has been stable for so long, and generally that doesn't lead to good things, right? When we're stable for a very long time, that's not healthy for the market. And I think that makes it difficult to rise. To take a look at this, we were stable for a long time, and we became very fearful. And when we're becoming very fearful, we're becoming fearful because the market is dropping. There's really no other way that people become fearful in these markets. And it happened again right here, and it happened again when Bitcoin was setting the all-time highs at 65K, and then again recently in August going into September, which was right around over here is when people started becoming a little bit more fearful again. We're not quite seeing people become fearful again right now, which is a little bit concerning. I don't like seeing that. I'd like to see people be a little bit less optimistic about the market. Let me just take a quick look at the funding rate because I'm curious to see if that kind of backs up what I'm saying right here, where people are just generally still pretty optimistic. No, not really. It looks like the funding rates have actually done pretty well to reset themselves. We're now actually favoring the bulls, so that means a lot of people are starting to go short and not many people are going long. And then on the 1 hour time frame, quite firmly bearish. So this actually is in opposition to what I'm saying, and I think that just kind of displays the neutrality in the market right now, where it's a little bit difficult to figure out exactly what's going on. But that's why I like to look at coins like Ethereum, because these coins like Ethereum, for example, a lot of the time they have a much clearer, much more obvious trend to follow. And that's what makes this interesting to me, is the fact that, you know, when Bitcoin is difficult to analyze, a lot of the time Ethereum isn't. And we can look at Ethereum to find some light in the market. And right now, yes, this is a bearish pattern, but we're still right now just hovering around support. So this is where it makes most sense to bounce up. The only thing I'm finding concerning is that at the support level, and it's the same picture as Bitcoin, ladies and gents, it's just that at the support level, I would have expected us to bounce up and stay high, and we haven't managed to do that. We bounced up and came back down, and bounced up and came back down, and now we're not even really getting a bounce. We're actually just testing the level right now as I speak, right? So again, this is just, you know, look at that. We're potentially just, I mean, this is the 1 minute time frame, so this is not the time frame to be analyzing, but just to demonstrate the point that we aren't necessarily doing something particularly amazing in that sense. But anyway, there you go. I hope you have enjoyed this video. You know what to do. If you have, please do me a favor and smash up the likes, subscribe, tick the bell, do all that good stuff. I'm keeping this video, these videos and this channel very realistic and grounded for you all, and if you appreciate that and find it useful, again, your support means so much to me. This channel is not popular and is not loved by a lot of people. I mean, by most it is. It's very much appreciated by a lot of people, though. It's definitely not something that's appreciated because I'm telling the truth, and so I need you guys to help me out here, and you know, give me those clicks or whatever you can if you have the time and effort. It really does help out, and of course it means that YouTube will keep recommending this content to you as well. So again, if you find it useful, that's how you can keep on getting more of it. Anyway guys, thank you all so much for checking this out, and I'll see you all in the next one. Bye bye.